Welcome to the Wisdom of Women show. We are dedicated to amplifying the voice and wisdom of women in business. A new model of leadership is emerging, and we are here to amplify the voices of women leading the way. I am your host, Coco Selman, five-time founder, impact investor, and creator of the Force for Good business system. Thank you for joining us today as we illuminate the path to unlocking opportunities and prosperity for women-led enterprises by amplifying the voice and wisdom of women. Today, we have a total trailblazer, an advocate for women, a responsible, strategic investor with us. We have Patricia Lizarraga, a trailblazing investor, entrepreneur, and board leader with over 30 years of Wall Street experience dedicated to advancing women in leadership. As the managing partner of Hypatia Capital, she leads Hypatia Women CEO ETF. So this is a ticker symbol WCEO that you can buy today. It's a groundbreaking investment vehicle that supports and scales public companies led by female CEOs. A seasoned financial expert and board member, Patricia has chaired audit committees, served on SEC financial expert, ensuring corporate governance excellence at the highest levels. With degrees from Yale and Harvard, Patricia is a powerful advocate for women-led businesses, reshaping the investment landscape, yes, to ensure women leaders thrive in both private and public markets. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you, Coco. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I love what you're doing, showing this new face of leadership.
So important. We all need to see each other and hear each other and then go out in the world and be more of ourselves. What is a book written by a woman that has significantly influenced your life?
I think, there's so many books one can think of, but an author that I love reading and rereading for so many reasons is Edith Wharton. She was able to translate both kind of the ethos of the time, but also the angst of women. It's not one of her books, but if you read different books, whether it's Custom of the Country, the one that most people have read is Age of Innocence, or Ethan Frome, and you start seeing her just show a lot of different female perspectives of what it was like to live in New York at that time. I just tremendously enjoyed it. Her command of language is so beautiful, and it's something that I couldn't do. So I always love going back to that part of the library. And it's interesting. She was actually an interior decorator before she was an author. I also went back and wrote that book, The Decoration of Houses, which is so beautifully written and kind of a history lesson. So that's something I enjoy outside of the investing and economic sphere.
Oh, I love that, and the voice of women in literature. Edith Wharton in particular describes the circumstances and challenges of women and how those same challenges still exist and how it's shaped us in the culture. And I think made us even stronger, more resilient, more emotionally intuitive and intelligent so that we can be great leaders, mothers, friends, advocates. I do think it's wonderful. I'm going to go back and read more Edith Wharton because I haven't read her since college. So tell me about you and your commitment to getting more focused on investments in women. Why is investing in women a winning strategy?
Sure. If you go back a little bit into the story of how I ended up launching the WCO ETF, and what it does is it invests in all American public companies that are at least 500 million market caps. These are sizable enterprises that have a woman CEO. Why do we do that? The first reason is because we have an investment thesis. We are an investment firm, and our investment thesis is that women CEOs will outperform. Why will they outperform? Because it's harder for women to get to the top. Last night, somebody called it the survival of the fittest. I never used that term, but I thought it was interesting that on some level, women CEOs are the ultimate Darwinian business person, because you really have to have all the qualities to survive and make it to the top. So by definition, if women are a small percent of CEOs, then the ones that have made it are extraordinary. So the question is, can we invest in that factor? It took us years to figure out how to deliver that female factor, right? How do you know you're not investing in small companies, or you're not investing in biotech companies? We have 18 biotech companies in our holdings. There are 175 public companies in the US that are led by women CEOs and have a $500 million market cap. And of those 175, 18 are biotech. So if we didn't adjust for, and there is not a women CEO in the United States until you get to company number 26 by market cap. The 25 largest companies in the United States are 100% led by men. So we had to figure out how to adjust for those factors to deliver the female factor. But we did, we got it. We believe that women CEOs will outperform. And we tried to create a vehicle that would deliver that performance, but also be available to everybody. I, Patricia Lizarraga, have been investing in women in leadership since I figured out it was possible. And I started with Golden Seeds, right, in New York City, but I also invested in Portfolio. And I'm very close to Julie Castro-Abrams and How Women Invest. And I think these are the three largest, most well-known funds for investing in women entrepreneurs, although there are 250 funds investing in women in venture capital. I'm a big fan of Female Founders Fund, and there's a lot of people to celebrate. But these are the three that are more retail oriented. And so I invested in two of them and looking at the third one. But the thing is, you have to be an accredited investor to do that. You have to be worth at least $1 million. Well, what about the 22-year-old who just got her first paycheck and says, wait, I want to invest in women? What can she do? The one thing she can do, and actually the only thing she can do, is invest in WCO ETF. We wanted to do was democratize investing in women and leaders, so that every person, even with $30, it's around $30 today, and that'll fluctuate, and past, performance is no indication of future performance. But with approximately $30, you are investing 20 cents in every company in the United States that has a female CEO that's large and steady. So that was the idea, to make it available to everybody. And therefore, we created what's called an ETF. And an ETF has complete liquidity. Let's say you're a young woman investing in her 401k through her company, right? And that's by definition 95% men CEOs, but the company's matching it. So it's really smart. But what if she wants to invest in women? Well, she can go to SoFi, open up a Roth IRA, and put, her extra cash in there and invest 100% in women, $100 at a time. And before we launched it, that was absolutely impossible.
It was absolutely impossible, right? This is the only vehicle like this that I am aware of. And you're right. The other opportunities are for accredited investors. And, as you're this is just available for everyone, and such a wonderful way. I remember when I first learned about Hypatia Capital, and I learned about it through Julie Castro-Abrams, and I just went straight and bought. It just made nothing but sense. I mean, most of us are invested in all kinds of equities and other funds. You've got your money invested somewhere. Why wouldn't you invest in this? And it's like you said, $30 to $34 a share, depending on when you buy it. It's going to grow. And it's such a wonderful thing. I just want to make sure, like right from the beginning, people understand how to get access to it. What do you recommend?
If you don't have a brokerage account, it's very easy to open one. It takes about half an hour. We love all of them. We love SoFi because they, have been very supportive with an initiative that we have called the Hypatia Festathon. But you can go to Schwab, Robinhood, SoFi, Fidelity, and it's available. You just put in the ticker WCEO ETF, and depending on how much you're buying, maybe, put it in with a limit trade so you get good execution. And it's in your portfolio. The good thing is if you need your money back, you can sell it in 5 minutes and get the money back the next day. That's important for initial investors. If you're looking at it in a portfolio basis, we can talk about that as well. Where does it fit in somebody's portfolio? Then we get into the design of the product. As I mentioned earlier, there is not a female CEO until you get to company number 26 in the United States. So one of the things we had to do to deliver the female factor and remove size as a factor is make it equally weighted. What does that mean? One of our biggest companies like Oracle, right?
Yes.
So Oracle, you probably use their products at work, has a female CEO, Safra Katz, and it's, a couple $100 billion in market cap. Gets the same weighting as our smallest IT stock, right? You'll get as much of Oracle as you get of a small IT company in our portfolio, and therefore we eliminate size.
That's great.
And eliminate size as a factor are, for comparison purposes, we are considered a small cap stock. Morningstar puts us in the US small cap blend category, and that's fine. We don't just invest in small cap. We're actually equally invested in small, medium, and large cap. But because of our methodology, we correlate closest to the small cap. So that's where, if you want to make sure that it's outperforming where it should in your portfolio, you want to put it in your small cap allocation. Depending on your asset allocation, most investors will have in their equities, US large cap, US medium cap, US small cap, and that's where you would put it in the small cap. And in any case, we aren't recommending anybody put more than 2 or 3% of their portfolio over time into this. But depending on your portfolio, that can be a pretty large number.
Exactly. I have it set up so I'm buying a little every month. It makes me feel like I'm investing with my values. I also believe in the investment thesis that women CEOs and leaders outperform their male counterparts. I do believe that. So, tell us some of the misconceptions you face when talking about investing in women-led companies and how you use numbers to prove it otherwise.
Sure. We do get feedback from financial advisors that women that want to invest with us take this to, who are, have large portfolios, take it to their financial advisors, and the financial advisors give us feedback and have questions. A big myth is the liquidity. They say, if you make a large allocation from your portfolio and then want to sell it, you won't be able to get out at a good price. That is the ultimate myth, because the way ETFs are created is it's not a supply and demand. It's just, if there's more demand, they make more product. If there's less demand, they unmake the product. Think of it as if you have, you don't have to, there's not a limited amount of the ETF. There is an unlimited amount of this ETF as long as there's enough stock to buy.
These are huge companies.
We'd have to get to over a $2 billion market cap to influence the stock of even our smallest holding. We own $20,000, $30,000 of each of these companies. So the liquidity is not an issue. The second thing we hear often is, this is an unproved thesis, right? Because you've only been trading for 2 years.
Yeah.
But we went back to 2018 to look at the performance, and we have over 100 basis points per year since inception with our algorithm. We couldn't go further back because there weren't enough women CEOs to make it statistically relevant. For as long as women have been CEOs, there has been outperformance. So we, we really show them, and we created an index. So we have what's called the Hypatia Women CEO Index, and that goes back to 2018. And then we have the actual ETF, which trades for 2 years, since January 9th of 2023. So there, They're similar because they're both delivering the female factor, but the index has a longer track record
Right,
because
right.
because it was created with a back test with historical data.
So why is this? What are the things you're focused on? Certainly getting more access. We need to get more women to buy into this, invest.
This is the situation. In the United States, the financial services sector is quite consolidated, right? To start an ETF, it is very difficult. We are one of the very few independent issuers out there. Most of the wealth is managed by the very large players. So think JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, et cetera. And we love them. And I would especially give the shout out to Morgan Stanley, who's been so supportive of us, right? But in order to get on those wealth platforms on their recommended list, we need to be at $100 million of AUM. And today we're at 4, a little over 4. So take a step back. If you're not going to be on the major players, then you can be on the minor players. But even there, you need $25 to $50 million assets under management. Again, we're far away. The third step that we're looking at is 10 million. And that's when the independent registered investment advisors start paying attention, right? At 10 million, they say, okay, this is not going to go away. And remember, even if the ETF shuts down, everybody gets their money back. It's not a risk of not getting your money back at whatever the stocks are trading at that time. What we need to do is, because we cannot get on the institutional distribution platforms, we need this to be grassroots. We need women themselves, all portfolio sizes, to come forward and say, I am going to make a meaningful allocation. If you think about it, how many adult women are there in the United States? Right? 100 million.
There's 100 million, more than that.
So there is no reason, and all of those women should be investing. Investing is for everybody. There is an investment wealth gap in the United States, which we're also trying to address with this. How do we get women excited about investing? The research is telling us that women don't care about the returns. They want to get a market return, but they're not chasing returns. The typical female investor cares about what she's investing. So the way to get women interested in investing is to say, if you invest in women CEOs, there will be more women CEOs. Now, why do we want more women CEOs? This is the data, because women promote women. It turns out that women CEOs have senior leadership teams that are 80% more female than men. Women's senior leadership teams are at about 36% women. That still means that a woman CEO probably has 2/3 of her senior leadership team is men and 1/3 is women.
Right.
But that's 80% more than the men, where their senior leadership teams are 80% men and 20% women. Right. So the facts, this is nothing but a number telling us women promote women. If you're a woman, you're going to do much better statistically if you work for a company that has a female CEO, but you can't, because there's only 8% of those companies. So we're in this circle where we need more women CEOs. And the best way to get more women to the position where they could be CEOs is to have more women CEOs. So then the final connection is, how does a company, right? Because I get asked all the time, why is investing in big companies going to help us have more women CEOs? Right? Where's the connection? And the connection is in the pattern matching, right? So the boards who decide who the next CEO is are people like us who pattern match CEO male, right? So they're not used to seeing women CEOs. When I ask people, even board members, to name a woman CEO, invariably the first name that comes up is Indra Nooyi. Indra Nooyi has not been CEO of Pepsi for a long time, but she's out, she's visible, so people think of her. I never get either Lisa Su or Safra Katz. Nobody's ever brought them up. And they are the 2 women that run the largest companies by market cap in the United States, led by women, or one of those 2 women. So there's this pattern matching, and both of them in technology, right? There's this pattern matching issue to the extent that we make the WCO very visible, first of all, for performance, and second of all, for growth, because we're so tiny that if we became relevant, we would be the fastest growing ETF over and over again. It would be in the news all the time. This is why it's important. Board members of public companies who are on the nominating committee or deciding who the next CEO is would see we should consider more women because women perform. The WCO is the only instrument that measures this globally. Nobody else is doing it. From that point of view, it's so important to get this growing. That's really our strategy for 2025, is to just speak it as in many events. It's all about exposure. Thank you, Koga, for having us on your podcast. And because we will distribute it, we will put it on social media. How do we get more women to know about this? How do we become the fastest growing ETF in the industry? So how do we get into the mainstream?
Right.
That's what we're trying to crack.
And you've been given a lot of advice. Last night, Patricia and I were together. We got to meet in person last night. We were at an event with How Women Lead, and we were able to meet and talk together about really changing the culture and how this piece is so important. There's getting women on boards and investing in women in earlier stage companies. But to me, this is so important to invest in women. One, because I know it's going to be enormously successful in its thesis. I know because the women who make it, like you said, have had to really, they're extraordinary. They're the creme de la creme. And so these are great leaders and they're leading great companies, and they're going to lead a little differently, partially because they're women, partially because they've had to overcome so much to get there. And so getting them into the CEO role is critical, and it changes the way leaders look and feel. And it's power, right? So much of what the culture looks to is, business controls so much power. And without the voice of a woman in the room weighing in on these important factors that end up affecting government, affecting the culture, how business is run, what our values are, how it gets propagated into society, it really is lost if we don't have more seats at that table.
Absolutely. I think hearing different perspectives is so important in making decisions, because they're not just lived experience, but also their research and their what the professional experiences that people bring to the table are really important. And I think that because women have a different and less linear path to that CEO route, they are more open to hearing from not the typical voice. I believe that the research and the facts bear that out, because women have more diverse senior leadership teams. My thesis is because they're more open-minded, because they've had to see how they're different. But it's a thesis, but the facts are they do have more diverse senior leadership teams. That's just a fact.
Right, it's a fact. And why is that important? Why is it important to have a diverse leadership team? And how is that contrast?
From the investor perspective, because
Yes.
balanced leadership outperforms, right? There's been countless studies that say that. So from an investor point of view, that's why you want it. And from a personal point of view, it's because you want to get promoted. You want your daughter to get promoted. You want your niece to get promoted, right? I want my daughter to get promoted once she's in college. So she's not up against this yet, right? But when she does go into the workforce, I don't want her going in there with one hand tied behind her back. And the best way for her not to have one hand tied behind her back is to have equal opportunity, right? And the facts are telling us that diverse management is more open to diverse promotions. I don't want my daughter, my niece, my best friend's daughters and nieces to be part of the broken rung. I want them to not be part of the broken rung. Having more women CEOs is attacking the broken rung.
Yes. And I think, yeah, and I agree. I have daughters as well, and nieces and so forth, friends of, Like there's women all over. So one of the things I talk about a lot is how women tend to leave corporate before they get to the C-suite or the CEO level. There's all kinds of reasons why that might be the path. But I think your mission to get more women in the CEO role also contributes to helping resolve that issue, right?
Absolutely. That is the reason to do it.
Right?
There's
Because
two reasons to do this. One, for your portfolio. Our investment thesis is that it will give better results over time. And from a societal point of view of equal opportunity for talent to rise to the top, we need to have more women CEOs.
right.
It's important to look at it from a return perspective. It is a financial product, and it is important to look at it how is this going to help us achieve the goals that we want of some gender balance at the top of society. My question to everybody is it on purpose that your portfolio is over 95% male CEOs?
More about that, because it's definitely not my purpose and my intention, but I
It's
know
not on purpose. It's nobody did it on purpose. That's just the way society and the financial system works.
right.
It's not on purpose. If I ask anybody, is it on purpose that you have over 90% of your investments headed by men?
Of course it's
And
not.
the answer is no. You can actually take a small piece of your portfolio and say, you know what? I want 5%. I want 8% of my portfolio to be led by women. So I'm going to put X percent into WCO, which is 100% women. So it balances us out. This is what we can actually do now.
I'm inviting our listeners to just check in right now with yourself as you think about making some of these adjustments. You are already invested in companies, whether it's through a mutual fund or an ETF, or you're directly buying in, shares in companies on the stock market, or however else you might be doing that. You already are doing it and you're comfortable with it. You're buying and selling, or you're working with an advisor, or you have your 401k, you already are doing it. So you have the skills to do this. And it's fine for you to do it. You've already overcome that. So this is just taking a deeper look at the choices you have. And it's not crazy and it's not risky. It's choosing which companies you want to invest in, what's important to you. And, when you start to, we were talking last night at our event, when you start to pull back the layers of the things you are invested in, you may not be so happy with what you find, right? Are you really investing in things that you want to be investing in? Are you in a mutual fund or an ETF that's investing in prison systems or something that you don't agree with? And we're doing it unconsciously. How would you advise us to help break that cycle personally? What would you tell me to do to get my portfolio straightened out?
So I think the important thing is it depending on where you are in the investing journey, right?
Yeah.
And women of all ages and of all portfolio sizes may be at a different part of the journey. Somebody with a small portfolio may be very knowledgeable. Somebody with a large portfolio may be zero knowledgeable, and vice versa.
So let's say I have a 401k.
So if you have a 401k, it's being managed by your company. So you would need to open up a IRA, which you can do online in 5 minutes, and it's still tax effective, and put some money in. So how much money should you start with? Whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever you're not going to miss. If it's $30, $30. If it's $30,000, it's $30,000. Now, if it's $3 million, then thank you. But I think
we need that, right?
The range of the people I know is somewhere between $30 and $300,000. Right? But people I talk to every day that can comfortably make those kind of investments. So what is comfortable for you? Whatever it is, just do it. So you get started, right? So now I have $3,000. We have a hashtag called
100 shares for women CEOs.
That is what we're asking everybody to do. Okay. So I'm asking everybody who's listening to this podcast to invest 100 shares for women CEOs. Buy 100 shares. It's about $3,000. You can get it back the next day. So that's at a minimum. what we would like everybody to do. If you can't do it, do $30. If you can do 30, no problem. Please do the 30. We need it. But just to go, just an easy number is 100 shares. Once you have those shares, you'll be curious to know, what do I own? You go to our website and download the holdings, and it'll give you the names of the 175 holdings. But it'll also give you the names and pictures of our top 10 holdings. And that's dynamic. That changes every day because stock price, we have performers, people's stock outperform, underperform, and therefore who our top holding is may change from day to day. Like, I don't even know who it is today. We look at every day who's performing, who's not performing. You get interested, right? International Seaways, never heard of it. But the CEO, she's fantastic. I have lunch with her once in a while. She runs a shipping company. Her story is so much fun. So you start getting into it and get inspired. We would love to be able to do that. We started, there's another Coco. I don't know if you know Coco Brown.
Oh, yes. I don't know her, but I know who Coco Brown is.
I have 3 fabulous Cocos in my life. I have Coco Feldman, I have Coco Brown, and I have Coco Enriquez Bogobo, which has nothing to do with investments. So they're 3 really amazing women with that name. So Coco does a podcast series called CEO Perspectives. She doesn't just interview women, but we have joined forces to, over time, interview the women in the WCO. We've had 2 of these interviews. And, last week, we interviewed Jill Ivanko from Chart Industries. Chart Industries is a $10 billion market cap company on the cusp of small to medium. Jill Ivanko is one of the most inspiring people I've ever heard speak. She's so down to earth, and she, tells her story of how she got into the business. She runs a company using natural gas to create refrigerated product. So it's not a company that you would know because it's a B2B company, right. but it's so much fun. And you look at her and she's so personable. I think those are stories we're going to start sharing more.
I love that.
And I think this is how we can inspire our girls.
Yes.
Because we want to inspire our girls to invest. We started something called the Hypatia Investathon.
Say more about that.
Hypatia Investathon is a financial literacy program for college-aged women and above to get them to invest early, invest often, and invest in women. While we love girls who invest, we love the programs that have been created for women who want to go into the financial service industry. Let's face it, most women don't want to go into the financial services industry. Most people don't go into the financial services industry. But everybody needs to invest. So how do we get our girls to do that? Our theory at Hypatia is it's not by talking about the returns. It's by showing them who they can be, right? Like showing every woman who can be the CEO of the 2 that we've interviewed. One is Jill Ivanko, and the other is the CEO of SecureWorks, which was recently bought. So it's not going to be public soon. And there's also Bath and Body Works.
Yes.
William Sonoma.
Yes.
That's the guy.
Yes.
Foot Locker.
And we need to take ownership for knowing these. That's what I'm coming away with right now, Patricia, is exactly what you're saying. I want to know these women. I want to know these companies. I want to understand, be able to identify these as mentors and as examples, because we can't even name a woman who's a CEO. I think of Ginny Rometty because she has this great book, right? And she's no longer a CEO. Right. So it's the same thing. Wow. And so Hypatia Investathon, I do remember reading about this. How do we get involved with this? How do we support this? How do we get our girls involved? I have a high school student, daughter who would love to do this. She has to wait. Yes. She has to wait a little bit.
For the Investathon, just because we don't have a solution for a minor Roth IRA,
okay,
she'd be investing anyway. She could still take the class. We offer the certificate that says, invest in basic certificate. And what we found is that we are still looking for what is the hook that's going to make these girls want to learn. I look back at when I was 20, I wasn't thinking about I need to put, the $1,000 I put in today will be $70,000 when I retire. I wasn't thinking that when I was 20 years old. I was thinking, I want to buy the mascara from wherever it was. So we're really looking for a partner that can help us under how to get young girls really interested in investing, not for the present, but for the future. How to get a young person to understand how important it is to do something now. And that's a note we haven't cracked. So we've got a lot of homework, right? We need to first we need to make the WCO successful. There is no Investathon without the WCO. The important thing is to get the WCO in the knowledge sphere of every woman in the United States.
Yes.
How do we do that? How do we make sure every woman has at least one share?
Okay, so yes, and so right now, where you trailblazing ladies that are listening, tell somebody about it. Go tell your daughters, go tell your friends, go tell everybody. You don't have to be a woman to invest.
No,
it's a smart investment.
It's a smart investment. It's also being part of this movement to take notice of the power we actually have. And I think Taylor Swift was in everybody's mind last summer, and Beyonce as well. The Eras Tour, right? Taylor Swift's always about taking the industry and taking her own power, right? Whether she bought back her catalog or she created the Eras Tour and created these massive effects on these small economies of city, or the city economies of cities she was touring in. And it really, I think, brought to the lexicon that Taylor Swift moves the economy. When you participate in her Eras Tour, you're part of that economic growth. So how do we get that kind of knowledge of every woman knowing that, hey, my dollars actually matter, right? And so we have a call to action for International Women's Day on March 8th. Their call to action is 100 shares for women CEOs, but we're asking all women to do 3 things.
Yes.
Right? One is to invest in one product that is supporting a woman entrepreneur. Just one. And if every woman in the US were to do one purchase that day, it would be huge. 2, make sure that you're doing some kind of helping women and girls activity or donation. Women don't receive enough philanthropy. And
this is a known challenge within philanthropy.
And 3rd is invest in women, whether it's 1 shares or the 100 shares we're requesting. So we're asking everybody to do those 3 things for International Women's Day to make this in 2023, there were over 30 billion mentions of International Women's Day.
Yes.
On the internet, 30 billion. We did not see, it was one of our lowest days for volume ever.
Oh my goodness.
Shares trading hands. Now we were brand new. We were only 2 months old. So we want to change that in 2025. We want to make International Women's Day the day that we see the biggest trading volume. So we're asking everybody to do this on March 8th is a Sunday. So March 10th, we are asking everybody to invest 100 shares for women CEOs.
Oh, I love it. So put it on your calendars, ladies. Put it on your calendar for March the 10th to invest in WCEO. You can get it from wherever you are already investing money. And if whoever your provider is, your broker is, does not have access to it, you can open a account with a Charles Schwab or with Robinhood, Sophie, or E-Trade and get access right away. I also want us to think about how we can spread the word. And I hope you listening feel a sense of excitement, motivation, and commitment to tell us your ideas. We want your ideas. I have no ownership in this at all, but I take dear ownership as a woman to help you, Patricia, and help WCEO and all women exceed where they are right now and elevate into higher positions of power. The world is made better by women. You invest in women, and it doesn't just help the woman, it helps everybody around her. Let's all together truly embrace this opportunity. You can visit hypatiacapital.com. Is that right?
The actual ETF website is WCEOETF.com. There's a button that says buy here. It takes you to your investment account with a WCO pre-populated. You can download there, see the pictures of the top 10 and see how inspirational
it is. Seriously, ladies, this is your opportunity. This is a true way for us to come together and make a difference. We need to help WCEO ETF get over 10 million and over 100 million. We need to invest in this so it can become readily available and more popular to all the different places that are promoting ETFs and investment vehicles. So this is an opportunity for us all to take action and go do it. It's super exciting and fun. Patricia, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. The voice of a woman in leadership is so precious, valuable, and powerful. And I just love being with you, your energy, enthusiasm, intelligence, and grit. I'm excited to go to your house later tonight and learn more. And for everybody listening, be sure to go and check it all out. Buy some WCEO ETF. And to all you trailblazers listening, please be sure to follow, like, and share the Wisdom of Women show on whatever your favorite listening platform is, and to infuse more wisdom into your business. Take the growth readiness quiz at aforceforgood.biz/quiz and uncover where your insight is needed most. Once again, the world is made better by women-led business. Let's all go make the world a better place. Thank you.